Now, the next discussion, it's not a speech anymore, but discussion will be about original content as endangered species. Sounds interesting. So for this panel discussion, we wanted to have a discussion about, what will happen in the future, what will happen to the original content, Will there be brands, as somebody is saying here in the crowd, that will still continue doing things their way, or will everything be created by AI or automation tools? So for this discussion, I want to invite the speakers and the moderator. The moderator is Viktorija Ratomskė, Chief Marketing Officer at CapitalBox. Hello, hello. So, Viktorija, this one goes to you.
Let me start first with introducing our panelists. So we have Iveta, Vištorskytė, Content Marketing Team Lead from Omnisend. Hi, Iveta.
Hello.
We have Evaldas Mockus, VP of Growth from Omnisend.
Hello.
And we have Julija, or JJ, Jegorova, co-founder and CEO of Black Unicorn PR.
Hi.
So, let's start then with a very easy question. What do we consider the original content today? Evaldas, I see you want to start this.
Yeah, I have no choice. So original content from my perspective, when I joined Omnisend, our content marketing team, they were heavily focused on original content. They were sitting, thinking 3 days what to write, then publishing 3 articles per month to 1,000 words per article, and we expecting that at some point we are going to see some breaking results. So in my case as well, it was not what I expected, and I didn't like such a type of original content, because if you are spending months on creating something very valuable for readers, you are adding all your feelings, etc. But then you are generating 50 sessions for such type of article. So for me, it was just a waste of our resources and company money. When I got the chance to change the direction how we are working, so I never thought about original content. I just have 4 buckets of the content which are important for the organization to see results. So the first bucket was content which should bring brand awareness every day. So it's very clear that traffic should be generated from Google search engine. The second part was product news, which are important, to maintain our existing customers. The third part was content which should bring registrations, and the fourth part, content which should bring mentions in other media outlets. So if content didn't fit in one of these buckets, so the content was, from my perspective, useless, and I just didn't allow teamwork on that. It was a big pain to change the direction, but when the people which were writing content, they got a chance, to show in dashboards what value they are bringing for registration, and we can measure the value. So then I believe we moved a big step forward in content marketing.
So data-based content marketing. Iveta, how's it on your side? What is your experience?
Well, I was thinking of content a bit more from a content creator's perspective. And yes, when we are working at Ox Labs, of course, our tech industry is very, very niche. So coming up with original topics, it's quite hard for us to do. So we definitely check what our competitors does and what's happening. We have a very strong SEO team, kudos. And they're helping us to come up with the topics as well. And the most important goal for us is to, of course, to adjust the topic itself. To, of course, meet all the criteria to rank better and to optimize it according to SEO perspective, but we also work very closely with our tech people from the company. We do quite a decent research for each of the topics, so that's how we ensure that our topic is originally presented and it's valuable for our customers.
Got it. Well, Julija, now the question for you, how does it differ in PR?
Yes,
it's not exactly, copy-paste from, or copies.
It's not okay to copy no matter whether it's PR marketing, I can read it or not.
So I think from a public relations perspective, it's very different, right? So we come from kind of the trust, credibility, and reputation type of thing. What is important to remember is, as PR professionals, we do not own content, right? We just give it to the media, be it a press release or contributed content or thought leadership piece. It does not mean that it will just be copy-pasted, in some of the most reputable publications, and if it does, don't, stay away from it. That's not okay, right? Our job as PR professionals to make sure that content is interesting, thought-provoking, newsworthy, and then what we offer to the media, it's entirely up to them the way they use it. Sometimes they can copy-paste, quote, and that's absolutely fine. But pretty much what we do is for the background, right? For this, once again, kind of thought-provoking ideas, because when it comes to the media, they will not use, your text just because you sent it to them, right? It has to fit like multiple criteria.
Yeah, so in that sense, then let me continue with another question. What challenges do you have today in PR field in terms of originality? We have, well, to be fair, we have so many agencies, we have so many specialists. Isn't it getting a bit harder to remain original?
Not really if you have decent professionals at the helm, right? So you can ask, ChatGPT to write something about something, and then you can try to push it to the media. That will never work. What you want to make sure that you have someone, who knows exactly, like the proper expert who can tell, okay, this is right, this is wrong. So in terms of the challenges of creating the original content, what we see and what we face right now is kind of making sure that the content is original, that is thought-provoking, that is newsworthy, and often, let's say, with startups from Central Eastern Europe, right, it has to be quite interesting for the bigger media to pick up on that. But I would not say that AI is going to be taking my job, the AI is going to be taking the copywriter's job. This is not going to be happening, because the human touch, the emotional intelligence, the experiences, right, AI just can't replicate that. At least not right now, so.
We're safe for now. Evaldas, you've mentioned that from your perspective, it's more about data and basing, content production on data. Have you any challenges there in terms of producing, continuous content, finding new angles, etc.?
So first thing to mention, so with PR, messages and publications, so we tried in different ways, and I believe never nailed it, and we never saw, amazing results. We are fighting in the United States market. So it's very competitive, a lot of strong companies playing there, and at the moment still, we don't have enough knowledge or resources to be very visible there. So we are focusing on these areas where we can do an impact in a short period. When we are talking about our data-driven content, so probably one of the main things is just the consistency and the speed with limited resources. So in these cases, all these new tools, they are really helping us to analyze faster, what ranks in top Google search results. It helps to create content briefs in a more efficient way. It helps, to coordinate our freelancers, which help create the content. We automated some manual monkey tasks, and now in one dashboard we can see progress of the whole content marketing team, and it helps us, to allocate more resources or helping to solve bottlenecks to publish content in a very efficient way.
As we move to the topic of tech and AI in the use of marketing, Iveta, what is your experience? Are you adapting it already in your teams? Has it changed your daily operations? Is it moving faster?
Well, I wouldn't say it changed our daily operations completely, but we definitely started to implement AI. And we're not like forcing people, oh, now we have to use AI, we have to be more efficient and etc. It's not. But it definitely helps us with, for example, the research part. As I mentioned in the beginning, that we're doing quite a decent research for each of our blog posts and everything. And before, it took us like a very long time, and you're like finding all the resources, reading everything, gathering the information. And now you can just ask questions. Of course, you have to know how to ask questions. And then you can gather that information much, much more efficient and much more quickly. Of course, later on, you'll have to confirm it, but still you did gather it much more faster. Then, of course, with the whole those repetitive tasks, right? So with the grammar, with the style, with the Okay, so I really liked one of the examples that my colleagues said, that sometimes I'm just stuck with my words and I don't know how to write a sentence, and I'm just like, please write me 20 synonyms of the word, and then it gives the listener, oh, that's it, this is how we go with the content. So it definitely made our work much more efficient, but still each of our team member implements AI and the usage of these tools how they want to do that, and how it's more comfortable for them. And so that's that.
Julija mentioned that AI is not taking your job, but is it helping in your job?
Yeah, well, we should not demonize AI or any sort of tech tools, right? You should embrace it and learn how to use it. Our bread and butter are human relations, right? So that's what we thrive on. That's what works. We do use ChatGPT, and I know Thomas didn't want to use that word too much today, but I'll say we do use ChatGPT. I personally use it quite often for my grammar, just to check if the emails are correct. I know some of my colleagues are using it for research. As Iveta said, it's good to have it for research, but then you need to double check it, double check the facts, because sometimes the things that ChatGPT writes are just absolutely bonkers. But yeah, very, very basic ones. It does not take, I don't know, even probably 5% of our day-to-day lives, but it really, really does help.
And that's good, yeah. Evaldas, one question for you. Iveta, Evaldas, you come from bigger organizations where we have operations established, we have separate teams for data, for, marketing, etc. Do you see opportunities for tech and AI to help smaller companies to grow faster? Do you think it opens maybe opportunities for them with smaller teams to move and excel in what they do?
So totally, because mainly a lot of these tools are free. You just need to be creative and a little bit smart how to use them. And when every one of us shared the same example, that okay, previously we needed native speakers to check our content, or sales outreach emails, and so we have, for example, outbound team based in Lithuania, and if they wanted to experiment with new sales emails or sequences, so 100% you need to check with live the content, which is native speaker, and providing recommendations how to do better. Now this person just created a prompt for ChatGPT, and sales and partnership teams, they can experiment in easy way without disturbing other colleagues. Other idea which we implement, and I don't believe that is a thing that only bigger companies can do. For example, we created some free tools based on ChatGPT, for example, email subject line generator, and it costs around 2 man days to get the design, and the developer created a simple tool, and after a couple of weeks we started to generate traffic and registrations from the United States. So if you compare how much we invested, so it was very cheap. Of course, we already we have a team which can find the ways how to do these things in an efficient way.
Iveta, what are your thoughts?
I'm listening to those great ideas and still thinking from the content perspective, right? So when you're smaller and you're just starting your business, right? I think it's very important to also to learn a bit more about your target audience, what do you want to write about and everything. And I think those AI tools can definitely help you with the start, can definitely help you to generate some topics, some ideas, where should you start from, and that's very helpful as well. So only that I can add.
I also see that Julija wants to add to this.
Yeah, so with regards to that, no matter whether you're a big or small company, I guess transparency should be key, in terms of what you're using and how you're using. Because let's say with contributed content or with thought pieces sometimes that you submit online somewhere, for the media, they will ask, have you used any AI tools to help you to write this, post, and then you have to either say the truth or, and don't submit it, or lie and submit it anyway. But I mean, in the sense of, just be transparent. It's okay to use AI. It's okay to use it, for content production. Perhaps in terms of content, it has to be a little bit more repetitive, something that is quite basic. But when it comes to, I guess, more creative, big ideas, you still will not be able to go around without, human input.
Yeah, so how exactly is it, do you think? Is AI killing the creativity or is it enhancing?
It depends how you use it, right? It's like if you overuse it and then you just every single, the most simple idea, you'll just, what shall I write today for my LinkedIn post? It's not gonna be helping. But yeah, I think it just goes down to the way you use it. I don't think it kills the creativity, but I don't think that it enhances massively, simply sometimes, because of the limitations of AI. And then there's just so many other forms, besides like content in terms of arts and literature and music, right? Somewhere where AI probably could help, but not necessarily, push you to the point where you will just get something out of it massively. Yeah.
Out of curiosity, how many of you have tried to write a LinkedIn post using ChatGPT? Okay. How many of you have noticed others using ChatGPT to write LinkedIn? Okay, so we're quite savvy here in recognizing this. Cool. On that topic, going a bit further, is it ever okay to copy, or we are, focusing fully on original content? I would like to ask Evaldas this one from SEO perspective, specifically, are we looking at competitors? Are they looking at you? Are we playing around with that somehow?
So mainly 100% of all high-ranked keywords, which are very expensive, like email marketing software, we are paying around $50 per click in the United States. So if you are going to check search results on Google, so you are clearly going to see that all the content is the same. You are going to see all best practices will be the same, all bullet points will be the same. Even in most of the cases, a number of the images in the content will be the same, and everyone is just updating the same articles every month and trying to keep top positions with such type of the content which is generating product registrations and new revenue. So it's everyone is just copy pasting and trying to be in top position. And of course, we need to add something original, that people will spend more time and it will send a good signal for Google engine. But in general, we're just repeating and repeating.
Iveta, do you agree that everybody just copy pastes?
Not like directly copy paste, I would say, because plagiarism is not good. But definitely there is this practice, of course, because a lot of companies are trying to optimize their websites based on SEO, best practices, and everything. And of course, there are good examples already that are ranking well, and that's how you take the example out of it. And of course, you try to make your own content unit, based on that structure or something like that. But I think it's very much. Yeah, because as a user, I also notice that I encounter situations when I'm searching something and I see 10 articles that writes completely the same, it's just different wording or something like that, best of, something. So from the content creators perspective, I would say that of course you can kind of draw an inspiration out of it for your content units, but I think you definitely have to add something from yourself. You have to do some more extensive research or something like that for a user to actually gain something out of your article after reading it, because I think then when a user actually will get something, will get some valuable information after reading your article, it can lead him somewhere else on your website as well.
Thanks. So we all agree that there are good and bad words. I also would like to ask Evaldas to share one fun, story from a colleague of his who found a unique point how to create.
So I believe in this example how all these new technologies can help you to open your creativity and do really random things. So director of content, he is pretty smart person and he knows how to do things in hacky way. So when ChatGPT was launched, so we bought a subscription and we are using, and he decided to write a book and publish the book on Amazon without any human touch on that. So he did a keyword research on Amazon, which niche is not so competitive. So he figured out that books for kids can be a good game, and then he spent more time on research, and the book name is 47 Knots for kids. And so he just used ChatGPT descriptions for 47 mods. He used some tool to create images, but only in first 10 pages because Amazon is showing, I don't know, 5-10 pages when you are buying the book, so he just wanted to scam the people. So he did everything. He published the book. He got this number of the book, and the last time when we talked, so 4 people, 3 from United States and 1 person from Canada, they bought this useless book. So I believe, yeah, it was a fun experiment, but we discussed, in the organization, the case, how these new technologies and hacky mindset can bring us interesting results.
I think this is an encouraging and fun example how we should all explore the upcoming MarTech and AI tools and how they can help us in daily operations and those in posts as well, in researches, etc. So to finish this off, Julija, what are your thoughts about the upcoming years with tech and AI in marketing in PR? What are you most excited about, if any?
So with AI and PR, it hasn't lived up to the hype I think that perhaps the marketeers had so far. Original content, stays king. You have to make sure that you think about your reputation quite a bit because you don't want to be associated, with plagiarism, with copy pasting, with just using, ChatGPT to write your press releases. But by no means, do not demonize it. And if you struggle with something, try to make sure that you use it. But yeah, as any other technology, as any other tool, just use it wisely and be smart about it.
From my perspective and where we as a company we are going to focus next when we are talking about these new technologies. So I got really good examples on cold outreach emails because if you are doing these things, that the personalization is playing really big role there. And ChatGPT and all the scrapers can help to build very personalized and heavy amount of context which you can contact. So yeah, for us this will be the next goal to try these technologies in our cold outreach activities.
As a content person, again, I really believe that, and I really hope, and of course it will be, that AI will be even more and more better and improved. So even the information it provides will be as much accurate as possible. So it will be less editing, more just thinking of ideas, asking the right questions, and getting more and more accurate information. So that's what I hope for the future, that it will evolve like that.
Thank you. It's awesome to have 3 different opinions for the bright future. Thank you, guys.
We have some time for the Q&A. If some of you have some questions.
Is it on?
Technical.
Let's try. Okay, sorry. Iveta, you were talking about plagiarism, mentioned a bit. With ChatGPT, of course, there's a lot of content online which looks the same, sounds the same templates. What do you think is the future of copyright? Because the law is dragging behind. When you come up with that original content, what do we do? Do you think it's still going to exist? I mean, of course, question is to everyone.
You mean original content?
Let's say someone writes a book and they don't use AI to write it. I mean, AI helps them. Let's say Grammarly is AI, right? We've been using it for years now, but suddenly ChatGPT takes over and everyone sees it as a bad thing. But so go back to the question. So the copyright, do you think is still for written content? Is it possible to prove that actually you're the one who wrote it?
Well, that's a very good question. I was reading a little bit about this topic in general, and of course all the laws and everything is lagging behind very much. So I can't predict the future, what will happen, but I really hope that all of the people who are responsible for the policies and the developers that develop AI tools will come back to this question and will definitely try to come up with some strict policies. Who owns the content, right? Because now the line is very blurred. So, for example, you generate content with AI. So, who is the author? Is it AI? Is it the AI developer? Is it you who asked the question? So there is no straight answer right now, and I really hope that people who are taking into consideration, because I think that's one of the things to consider when we are talking about the future of AI, is these kind of policies that kind of determine who is the owner of what in regards to content.
Do we have any more questions? Yes, I see one. All right, somewhere in the middle.
What do you think in the nearest future, can we expect that all the content will be marked original and not original? Are we going to this direction? Thank you.
I believe that some regulations will be adapted to the market pretty soon, especially from Google perspective still. So for them it's important to have, daily increase of different search terms. They are working on that, and if users will see that you are not getting new information and the information is just repeating itself, so definitely they are going to push back pretty fast, because they are making most money from Google Ads, and they want users to enjoy the search engine.
But with Mark is put
As like there's going to be literally just a little stamp on it saying
yes, stamp with stamp is marked that this is original, made by human being, and this is not.
Do you think people that would say that generated by AI, they would say that it was AI generated just to get the stamp? That's kind of also the ethical question, right? From my perspective, I guess from once again the PR and media perspective, we have these gatekeepers that are journalists. They butcher the content, they do their own due diligence, they're investigative journalists. So, even if you created something with AI, it's perhaps, the journalist will have to verify, triple check the sources, whatever, before content goes out, and it's always original on their behalf. But in terms of, I don't know, the marketeers, will there be a little red star or a dot?
Well, I think it very much depends on the content itself, because what's the purpose of marketing it? Is it the one that, if a person created that content, is it more quality than AI generated content, right? That's the question, because if it kind of fits all of the, I don't know.
Imagine, economical and ethical purpose. Economical and ethical.
I saw David had a comment here,
Just before David is still going. I think also with content though, right? So there is, let's say, sponsored content that you pay for the media to place, and it says it was sponsored by, bought by, whatever. And it's absolutely fine, you've paid some cash for it, and it's all right. And that's, I agree that it goes in terms of the ethical perspective. And David will tell more about it.
So right now, basically, OpenAI company that creates ChatGPT closed their department, was trying to identify that this image or this text was written by AI, because they cannot solve that. And the recent research was checking these classifiers and identifies text or images generated by AI, basically was biased of those people who know very well English and can write very well in English, because it's always identified that this is generated by AI, but the person was very good in English. Yeah. So basically, it's very hard. One of the techniques that's useful is watermarking. It's very invisible watermarks that this is generated. Probably most of social media will start using very soon, that they could identify and basically decrease your reach of posts that generated by AI.
Your panel discussion was disrupted. All right, do we have one more question? Okay, so let's give a round of applause for Viktorija, Evaldas, Iveta,